So these are my 10 top tips for how to arrange a successful living autopsy. The first one is to do your preparation. Read up about the subject, perhaps if there's something particular to the setting or the theme that you don't know very much about, good to have a few statistics. Go along to your venue and check out exactly where you're going to be holding it. Top tip number 2 is to make the most of the resources that are offered by the Royal College of Pathologists. Have a look at all of the resources that are available online. There are quizzes, PowerPoint presentations, handouts and things like that you can download. And also you can register and then request promotional materials, and they'll be able to send you booklets, pens, post-it notes and things like that you can hand out at your event, which are always very popular. Top tip number 3 is to make the most of social media. If it's not something that you do much of now, it's time to learn. So get a Twitter account, sign up to Instagram and start using that Facebook account that's been sitting dormant for so long. Get some good hashtags, hashtag Living Autopsy always works, and promote your autopsy. Start to talk about your event and what you're hoping to achieve. Then report what happens both during, particularly if you've got a friend who can take a few photos for you, and afterwards. My top tip number 4 is it's fine to have a prompt card or a postcard. I sometimes have a little postcard that I use that I have on the table next to the body just to remind me of important things. So for example, if I do an event in a historic location, I might write down the important dates. You can just look down because you'll be looking down to pick up instruments and things, so nobody will notice. Top tip number 5, I have learnt always to give a health warning before I do a living autopsy. And by that I mean I warn the audience that although there'll be no blood, no body parts and no dead body, they may still find the descriptions very vivid and it may make them feel unwell. My top tip number 6 is to try to make your event interactive. I mean, that really goes for any public engagement event. It always helps if the audience feel that they can participate in some way. And so I will hand round all of the autopsy instruments either before the event or during the event as I describe them. I'll say these are the rib shears and then I'll hand them round for people to look at. That works well in a small audience where it's not going to take very long and you know you'll get the instruments back at the end. I wouldn't do that if I had an audience of 800, for example. So if you've got a really big audience, in terms of being interactive, really I think the most you can do is ask a few questions, have a show of hands. Who knows what this is, and show the rib shears or the T-chisel or something like that. Top tip number 7 is remember to keep your living autopsy respectful and dignified. It's worth remembering that the chances are, if you've got an adult audience, that many of them will have had a loved one who has had an autopsy. So just remember that you're likely to be bringing back some memories and making them think about what their loved one went through, and make sure that it's appropriate. Top tip number 8 is not to forget the other people that we work with. So when you're talking about an autopsy, I mean, ideally, if you have an anatomical pathology technologist who works with you and would be happy to do a double act, then that would be fantastic. Also, try to take every opportunity to talk about the other pathology specialties. So I will often talk about the other tests that can be done following an autopsy, whether it's sending material to microbiology or toxicology, and then I might talk a little bit about the role of clinical biochemistry and genetics, for example. So try to put this in context and talk about all the different pathology specialties. Top tip number 9 is to make sure you allow plenty of time for questions. There will always be loads. Sometimes it doesn't feel like it. I've had events where I've left 45 minutes for questions and nobody's put their hand up, and it's slightly worrying. But if you think that might happen, if you've got a friend or colleague in the audience, perhaps plant the first question with them, because once you get going, the audience will relax and start to ask questions. And my final top tip is to make sure you evaluate your event. We all want to learn and get better and make sure that the next event that we hold is even better than this one. So evaluate in some way. If you have a look on the Royal College of Pathologists website, there are evaluation forms and cards and different ideas for how you can get feedback from your audience. If that's going to be too tricky, perhaps think about whether you can email a questionnaire to people who've registered afterwards. But it's really important to try to get the feedback if you can. But most importantly, have great fun.